councillors, for people watching online may not know who they are, and also the Chief Inspector Swallow, which is Mr. Chats, and Gareth from Post Security, who will also just give us a quick update on stuff. So I can start from that end, Councillor Moore. If you just like to introduce yourself, Councillor Moore, and what ward you represent.
I'm Moore and I represent Newington.
I'm Councillor Hudson and I represent North.
And you're also there.
Oh, I'm also there. Councillor Rowe and I represent Central Harbour. I'm Tricia Austin and I represent Central Harbour. Councillor Wiggs, Central Harbour, Trio again.
Start the other end.
Councillor Hudson represent East Ward and Cherrytown Motion.
Oh, that's much.
So representing Smoke from Fury.
David Green representing Nethercourt and Chair Finance.
I'm Lucy, Vice Chair and
And I'm Steve Alvin, Councillor Steve Alvin, I'm Chair of Ramsgate Town Council representing. Thank you. Right. Item 2 is minutes of the town meeting. This is to approve the minutes of the annual town meeting held on the 2nd of April 2025. The draft minutes can be viewed on our website. And this is for approval. So, members, unless there's any questions in relation to those minutes, can I have a proposal for those minutes, please? Councillor Austin, seconder. Councillor Nixie, all in favour, please show. Thank you. That's carried. Right, item 3 is a report from Ramsgate Town Council to receive a report on the council's activities in 25-26, which I will go into. This year we're presenting less information to you in order to give more time to hear from you. So what we were trying to do is, instead of giving everybody, all the councillors, to speak, we cut that down so that our residents can ask as many questions as they like. Because last time we only had about 10 minutes for questions. Okay, so we'll ensure that your question gets answered first. However, as I said, we have still collated our usual updates, and these are printed and available on the share, so you should all have a copy of it. But I would like quickly highlight the following from last year that Ramsgate Town Council is very proud of. Over the past year, we invested heavily in community groups, youth services, mental health support, and local events, helped by our expanding grants programme. Environmental progress continued too, with a 91% reduction in the council's carbon footprint since 2020, and the continued success of the fruit tree and repair initiative. We now helped residents plant nearly 170 fruit trees across Ramsgate. The council made visible improvements across the town centre, including decorative lighting in the town centre, the harbour arches and the obelisk, along with better signage, new benches and planters. Work continues to on important council assets such as the Customs House and Radford Council, while the town centre security trial strengthened our response to antisocial behaviour. Our tourism events programme also grew, supported by a refreshed What's On calendar, new promotional material and strong community participation. We organised and funded several major civic and heritage events, including the 85th anniversary of the Operation Dynamo, working in conjunction with local organisations. We also organised and delivered kept costs down for residents while still investing in community services, with audits confirming strong and reliable financial management. Please can I ask everyone, President or online, to report potholes and problems with payments to KCC via their online portal. If you can't get online, then please find and contact the local KCC councillors, which is Councillor Mole and Councillor Shonk, who should be able to help you with that. There seems to be a lot of problems at the moment, and we must let KCC know, and then RTC challenge KCC if repairs aren't undertaken. So, at this point, I would like to thank our council staff who worked very hard over the last year, and again, that's something that us as council are very proud to have the workforce that we have, and that's important. They're a very important part of the town council to ensure that things that you probably don't notice actually get done, and that's what we don't notice because they haven't been done. But I'd also like to thank all the chairs of the council, different council committees, and especially Chair of Finance who's to guide us through our difficulties of trying to make the budget the way it should be, and come to within and be lawful. So that's enough for me. Any members just want any members want to just say anything?
I'll back up the potholes. I think I've reported 7 that will be done. That's one stretch of road is going to be replaced. So the lovely, the KCC officers are really good and proactive. So yeah, get reporting people.
Yeah, and I think as well that the once we've reported the spare,
Yeah, they are.
and Council Green.
I just would like to say, thank you people involved, well organised in the Birmingham attack.
Yes.
What a huge turnout.
I just wanted to add, you covered a lot of the events and work that comes out of the Town Promotion Committee, but also there's a lot more that perhaps people don't see that are little things, and one of the things I've always been very conscious of is to try and keep up the amount of money that we have available for those small grants, for the smaller events, the community groups, and that we support through that. And huge thanks to the grants committee for doing all the work they do in reading through them. But I just want to do a bit of promo for the small grants.
Can I just point out to everybody the Great Ramsgate Spring Cleaning Post from there? It starts on Friday morning. There's lots of volunteers involved. Lovely Maxine will be there supporting with the other colleagues. We're really grateful to Ramsgate Town Council for supporting all of things every year to this.
I think
ran a highly competitive recruitment process with a very strong pool of candidates. The panel recommended Bernie to the board at the last meeting and her appointment was unanimously supported. She is a Ramsgate resident and brings a long-term commitment to the town. She has a deep understanding of finance and builds real community connections. This mix of financial rigor and local dedication is exactly what we need. It will help us manage this programme effectively and keep the community's voice front and centre. We must also take this opportunity to formally thank the outgoing interim chair, Brian Norton. We thank him for his immense dedication and service to the board. Brian stepped up to lead during a critical foundational period. He guides the board through the early stages of our community engagement. We reached over 2,000 residents and gathered crucial community feedback. He oversaw the pivotal purchase of the High Factory Music Building, securing a permanent home for our young people. Brian also guided the overarching landscape vision of the plan to a point where the national government has praised our progress. It is noted at this stage we are well ahead of other towns. We expect our final sign-off in the coming weeks. Brian will lay the essential groundwork for everything we are about to do and we are incredibly grateful. Securing our youth centre and national first. We are incredibly proud to announce that the grant purchase of High Factory Music is officially complete. They now permanently own the building. This is a massive win for the town. In fact, this is the very first major pride in place programme capital grant to be awarded in the entire UK. Getting this over the line means we have secured a permanent vital asset for Ramsgate's young people. Crucially, this directly delivers on our raised up priority. It secures dedicated youth services and an activity hub for the town. We have so much local young talent and we want to ensure our young people feel able to stay. Now they have a space where they can flourish. It shows that when we back our local organisations, we can deliver concrete, visible results that support local people. Backing the local creativity, bring it to life. We recently launched our Small Grants Fund. This was designed as a Kickstarter to help the community creatively interpret their town's new 10-year vision. We asked us to show what a thriving and creative landscape looks like, and the response was phenomenal. We received 23 applications requesting nearly £44,000 against our initial £15,000 budget. Because the standard of entries was exceptionally high, the board stepped up the total grant pot to £20,000 to fund 11 brilliant Ramsgate projects. These creative outputs will be officially showcased at our launch event on the 19th of April. We will be doing deep dives into each of these over the coming weeks, but to get you excited, here is a taste of what is being funded. Livestream performances, including a roving performance about cleaning up our streets called Influencers. UK Media, a digital film showcasing local young creative talent and a youth commissioned 16-page edition of the Ramsgate Recorder magazine. Audio and music, the co-creation of an original Ramsgate community song and an audio installation weaving together the stories of residents. Heritage and art, an oral history exhibition of Ramsgate voices. A Fixes at Ramsgate, Van Gogh Art History Project for schools and contemporary historical artworks. Inclusive creation, mural projects and hands-on creative sessions specifically designed by and for adults and families with disabilities. Film and social media, a project celebrating our town with the Real Deal campaign, featuring a large montage of local heroes and QR codes for instant video viewing. The next big thing, 19th of April launch event. Mark your calendars. We are officially launching the Pride in Place programme on the 19th of April. This coincides with the Ramsgate St George's Day Spring Parade and the official start of the national programme. Now in its fourth year, this parade is a co-production between St George's Church and GB Carnival. It is a joyful, music-led and highly visual celebration rooted in carnival and English folk traditions. GB Carnival Samba, Yabusa drumming band provides the soundtrack.
busy summer. As you know, I don't know to teach converted in here that Ramsgate had a few things going on recently, I think it's fair to say. We continue to sort of fight against some of the antisocial behaviour, some of the incidents of violence, some of the incidents of criminal damage that happened over the last few months in the town. Without going into great detail of it, what we do as a police service is we measure our crime rates, which is very easy to do. You can tell by how many people report crimes, what our protection rate, etc. is. One of the more sort of sophisticated methods that we use is a harm intervention tool, and that measures the harm that's caused to the community by equating certain crimes to a certain level of harm, so that we know which of our communities are suffering more than others, rather than just counting numbers of crimes that occur. So Ramsgate Town Centre has been one of our hotspots for a number of years now. That's together with Margate Central and Liverpool West. So they have been our three hotspots on the district over the last few years, and we track and monitor how things are going within those districts. The good news from a lot of perspectives is that the actual harm index, so the amount of serious incidents, the amount of crime harm that's happening within those areas has fallen. However, we're also acutely aware that it's probably disproportionately offset by the amount of regular incidents of minor violence, drinkers, antisocial behaviour, and some smattering of probably more serious incidents that happen. And we know, and we're not blind to the fact that the community are heavily affected by that, and they quite rightly understand that it's not nice to be in a mum's door for our businesses to work in. So, sort of picking a couple of instances of note really that we can give you updates on the multiple damage incident that happened. I was going to say a couple of weeks ago, it's been more than that now. It was about a month ago now. That occurred in the town. That caused a lot of concern because quite a few people were equating that and marrying that up with the town because and everything else that goes on within the town. Now, what we've been saying to the community is that they were completely not linked in any way, shape or form. The individual who caused all the damage not long been released from prison. He was having a medical episode in relation to substances he'd taken. He called City Council of the ambulance. They called us and said that the male abuse being quite argumentative with them. Initially we said, right, it's for you to go and do what we need to, and then shortly afterwards he phoned himself and said that he wasn't feeling very well, got told an ambulance was coming, and then about 5 minutes after that he went on his bin reputation through the town. He caused damage of about, I think it was 15, 16 various buildings, cars, you name it. What I will say is that as soon as that started happening, the CCTV were right on it. They spotted it straight away. We had a couple of calls come in. It was the council's CCTV that we found, and they called us straight away. So from the moment the CCTV spotted it was happening to us getting there and arresting him was 13 minutes. So, and that was about 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, so around 3 o'clock in the morning. So we got there in 13 minutes. He was in custody from the first call to us arriving in 15 minutes. So that was really, really good. What wasn't good was down to the courts, but we remanded him in custody straight away. He went to court and the court gave him some would argue not enough, but the court gave him a custodial sentence. So I just wanted to highlight that because it's like we're going back over the last couple of years when we've had quite serious violent incidents in the town as well. You go back 3 years, we had stabbing incidents and what have you. And it's really important from my point of view as a police service to update you that those serious crime incidents, those serious violent incidents are not linked to day-to-day stuff that we're trying to tackle as well. They are kind of standalone. When you go back to the serious violence that happened, they were individuals who knew each other, that were attacking each other, and they use our towns as their backdrop for their violence rather than targeting the community. And then again, it's work that will carry on as we go forward. But we also send out a really strong message that if they do step over the line, we will respond. And I think a good example of that is Planet Awards that everyone's heard of recently, where it was posted on social media and that there was going to be this fight between the school. Literally, we had 2 or 3 days notice that was coming up. You probably saw that my response to it was to flood the street for resources for that happened. That cost me, but it cost my budget, which I then had to offset from somewhere else, a lot of money. But we wanted to send out a really, really strong message to the kids to say, if you're going to bring this, we will not bring it under it. So shock and awe tactic, if you like. I think that had a real effect because the schools were brilliant. They worked with us absolutely amazingly on all the messaging and what have you. Nothing happened on that Friday. Despite what some kids are saying that their mate was stabbed and this happened, nothing happened. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got stabbed. Nobody was found with any weapons whatsoever. Despite what news damage had might something. What was also important is that we arrested a 13-year-old kid from one of the Broadstairs schools who using what we call operative searching, which is our telephony work, when we can go and look at all the mobile data. It's quite a sophisticated technique and it's not a high-level technique. We use it for highly specific people, we use it for serious violence, harm, drug supply, etc. But on this occasion we used it to track down who the individual was that started in school, and we found him in a school, well, goes to school in Broadstairs, from quite a nice family. He thought it would be hilarious to use ChatGPT to create this poster from a poster he'd seen in London, Nottingham and New York, where it was started in America. And all we did was ask ChatGPT for the names of 6 random schools. So there was no sophistication in it. It was these are 6 schools, split them up, create this poster, and that's how it went. So he is currently on bail with very strict conditions about what he can and can't do. It's been a shame since the 13-year-old man, but again, we made very, very sure that the message went out that this is not tolerated to the degree that I had officers in the school when it was making a little bit of show on that action. Not something I would normally do. We would normally do it very quietly with speech to the parents with them home. I thought it was important to say, no, this is what we're going to do. So hopefully that fad will disappear off and we'll play something else. But it has a massive disproportionate effect on my ability to police. Because of course if I'm doing that, I'm not doing other things. So that's that side of it. And going on to we spoke about youth crime, we spoke about serious violent crime, we spoke about the one big incident. I think the other big issue that the community are really worried about is the tampering and the social behaviour that we see from the individuals there. We have issued community protection notices or warnings against up to 5 of that group now. We've arrested 2 of them off the back of breaches of that community protection notice. And they've got court dates coming up. And on at least one of them, kind of a ringleader, we have got a CEO, so the old Ramsgate stuff going through. We will nick them, arrest them, bail them up every single time. I've got no worries with that. The difficulty is, as I'm sure you can understand, it's not me telling you any news here. The court system is overloaded, the prisons are overloaded, the chances of them being put away is minimal because we're looking at minor crime, it's and social behaviour is not very pleasant. It makes my life more difficult and then it makes the community life more difficult to have to put up with it. All I'm saying is that we will keep pushing from our point of view and we will again talk about parts of the probation, again the violence reduction unit to try and prevent this stuff from happening in the first place. Going forward, we've now got a always says most costs. And we move those teams to where they need to, depending on the demand. But the big officers are there to stay, they're not going anywhere. We have made an absolute commitment that every single year will have at least one big officer. Ramsgate has more than that, because as I said before at meetings, what we do somewhere, for example, the villages Moulton is Manston will have one for a number of wars, and Ramsgate, Kitchenville, Margate will have another. So we've had a big officers. I know lots of councils know on personal basis and get on really well with them, and they do a sterling job. So that commitment is not going away. If anything, the commitment to Navy and policing is going up. Government announced they want further uplift to tackle town centre issues. So if anything, we'll be increasing our presence. And on that note, Steve and I were talking at the beginning, it isn't just a police issue. We want to work closely with the community, with every conversation we have with the council. I want to big shout out to Gareth and the security team as well, to the efforts that they've put in. We were talking slightly outside of Ramsgate. We were both also at council meetings on the issues they had in the summer. That partnership of private security, policing, local community, working together is the only way we're going to smash this. And everybody also will please do about it. We'll do everything we can for handle the officers. And it's about our partners. And when I talk about that, mental health teams, the NHS, local authority, all helping us to try and solve the to sum up, yes, crime is dropping. I know it might not feel like it genuinely is. Harm is dropping, but we've got some issues that we need to tackle. I will be restricting my panic for this coming year, so I will drive the teams all the way through some months again, and you have my commitment that wherever there are problems, we will continue to work with you all, and I'll do everything in your power to try and keep it going in the right direction.
Thank you. On behalf of we're grateful to this council for all that always do, and they are friendly, they are part of it. No, it is great. And members, anybody want to ask them?
Number one, just sign up to my community list. Make sure, please pump that out to all your community, because that is the two-way engagement form that the big officers will talk to you. And the best way to go to everybody's website, it's called Single Online Home, but it's hidden behind the main everybody's website. If you go to the front page, put your postcode in, it will come up with your big officer, it will come up with the big officer's priorities as defined by the community, and it will come up with their plan for the next 3 months, including where they'll be doing their neighbourhood engagement. So that's 100% the place to go to every single time. The businesses do change occasionally, but I try as much as I can to keep them steady, because the best engagement with the community is when the community also know each other and build that relationship. But 100% that's the best place to go to. So the company's website, on the front page, you're able to put your postcode in, and all the information, including your crime data, will all come up. And it will tell you, according to my community voice survey, your priorities are antisocial behaviour, dog family, and e-scooters, for example, because they're top. And it will say next to it, your officer is PC, whatever, and this is what they're doing to tackle those three problems. And that updates regularly.
And through that,
Yes, you can. You can contact them that way, so you can contact them online. They will get back to you through that.
there is a framework problem, I know we've spoken many times, but I just think it's something that is an issue with license in those areas.
Yeah, it is. This is where the community partnership comes in. So I would work from my point of view, I'm chairing the CSP exec, but I'll work with Joanne and Taylor and I'll work with Penny and her team. And obviously that's when Rise and all the other agencies are coming in. And under the CSP exec banner, it's kind of my job as chair to sort of coerce, drag, whatever it may need to get the right agencies to come into the party. So the issue around homelessness is that there is legislation out there, and it does sometimes get thrown at me, to deal with homelessness as an offence. It does exist, but the legislation goes up to 1824, and to say it's slightly out of date, probably the vagrancy, and it talks about wanton vagrancy, and unfortunately I still get in contact with some issues treated as offenders. My take on it is if they're committing offences, so whether it be public decency, whether it be alcohol related, or be violent, I will deal with that. But my take is very, very much partner agency's responsibility to step up and look after, for want of a better term, create diversion, look at ways of solving that problem. The difficulty I've got is that I genuinely don't see that as this issue, because it's essentially a crack enough. And we will arrest someone, or let's just say it's for gross indecency, where we've had it, not so much in the aspect, but in one day where we had someone identified on the street. So, of course, we've got to act, and so we arrest that individual, we then ascertain that they've got some severe mental health problems, and then we ascertain that they've been looking for accommodation for so long. So my team is trying to be safe with that, and they spend weeks and weeks trying to engage with the correct agencies to try and solve those first problems. My take on it, we should be told that we've got there. So, to answer the question, we will always enforce where we need to, but what I'm trying to do from a big background and quite lengthy background in neighbourhood policing and community development, what I'm doing in the background is I'm having difficult conversations with other agencies to say, where's the money, where's the diversion, where's the support services, what are you doing about that individual? And I talk about mental health. I had a difficult conversation with a private counsellor regarding an individual who was having a severe mental health episode on the street, and we ended up arresting that individual. The counsellor felt that we shouldn't have done, it should have been on down to the I couldn't agree more, but I couldn't ignore the problem that was happening there. And actually, in that circumstance, I went back to the counsellor and said, well, because once I was arrested the individual, we had him in custody, I had a community psychiatric nurse there within an hour, and I had that person's section within 2 hours. If we had left them on the street, who knows what would happen. So that's where that conversation's got to come in with other agencies, because we have all the answers.
It's really helpful to hear you explain that. We have those conversations and I'm listening to our concern on all sorts of different levels about what's going on here to where they've been. But we don't hear all the background work that goes on in trying to support individuals without the sledgehammer to crack them up, basically.
There's tons of work going on in the background all the time, which is one of our community partnership in Planet is one of the strongest that I've ever worked in, and I've worked in community safety at headquarters, Dover and Canterbury. So I've got 3 issues and central partnership over my career, and Planet is the strongest by some margin. And the work that, for example, TDC, community development, community safety do is second to none. Normally, and I'm not trying to disagree with other partnerships, but normally the police drive everything because we've got a problem. We're holding the baby out in the bathwater, so it's for up to us to go, please do something. Whereas here, Joanne and Taylor, for example, their team, just grab the ball and want to do some incredible work that the police don't have to do, get involved, but they need it. And that's not seen in many other places to the degree that we've had members of Parliament, members of the
Everyone's intimidating. Personally, I don't, because I'm very, very dodgy person. There's nothing intimidating whatsoever. But you see, I imagine you can't do anything except speak to them and get them to move on. But you see them sort of between 4 and 6, and I think more when the sun comes.
Yeah.
Because we can see that.
Yeah, it is a tricky one because you've got that perception versus reality debate that goes on all the time. But again, that's where the police stuff comes in. So I spoke about our violence reduction unit and our child centre policing teams. They are working with community centres and schools to identify where some of our troubled kids are coming from and why they're out on the streets, etc. Some of them are just hanging around, but some have got more troubled backgrounds. And it's really, really important. I think like it's the same argument we're talking about homelessness. Is that it's a very, very black and white answer to say it's all the police will do is arrest people. We're much more sophisticated than that now. So we are working again in the background with the other agencies to identify early and put in place projects, put in place diversion. Like my child centre policing team will go into every single school, mostly secondary school, but sometimes primary, and they will do various inputs, training, they will slightly signposting, they'll be identifying individuals who are at risk, and that could be a risk that harms themselves or to others. The most extreme version of that is channel power, which you've probably heard of, which is about extremism and terrorism. And there are sadly young people in the Thanet area that have been put into that process because of threats to them. So we are doing all this stuff in the background all the time. And that's the future because my resources, you might say, if they're on the street and they walk up to them, if they're doing nothing wrong, it's very, very tricky. But what we will do is find out who they are. We will then find out why they're there. And then what the community does see is that we're then talking to their parents, we're then talking to their school, we're then talking to sometimes the social services support to ascertain what the bigger picture is. And there's a meeting process within the CSB called the Textual Safeguarding Meeting, and that brings the vulnerable names into the panel. As a multi-agency, we then identify what do we need to do. Because I will go to every meeting and say, it's not my job to be arresting these kids because it doesn't solve anything. So we're doing all that. Yeah, it's a tricky one. They are around, but I was going to say a conversation with my inspector today who runs the community safety team. You've got 6 police officers, you've got 9 medical counting, so that's 15 police officers. They're not all on at the same time. And a police officer walking up the high street is then not going to be seen on the harbour, it's not going to be seen, and that's the difficulty. They're spread fairly thinly. And where you probably won't see them as much are, I don't want to use the term too short, but the nicer wards where we don't get the same amount of problems as we do, for example, in the town centre.
Thank you.
Just go to something now.
However, can I just add, those lads are all in Joe's notebook from this Sunday on what we can, and all that information will go there, will go in that kind of stuff. So, the police work there, the security there.
I know them all.
Yeah.
And that's why the relationships are so good, because when we get past that stuff, my neighbour team will then go, right, we'll take action on them.
And just to follow up on sort of shared issues, Eastern Central Harbour, I mean, there are presently pre-tents in St George's. One of the issues is I'm away out of church on which is St George's, so we go to the tent and ask, there's nobody in those tents. So I'm thinking that maybe East and Central need to try and meet each other so that if we've already made a referral to Rossi, so they confirm there's nobody in that, we get it cleared straight
in Boston rather than community.
I think to Cynthia's point as well, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is a bit of a dark phrase amongst industry travel is the PSPO. As you were aware, I didn't mention the phrase, but I think you'll all be aware, but just to give you an update where we are with it. So, a year and a half, 2 years ago, came on this first iteration, it got back. I was then approached by the Community team within and legal team within the District Council if I could have my weight behind it after Christmas, that way I got a little bit more. And what I did was supply them a statement back in the summer supporting it. So then it got it, as I'm sure you're aware, it went through Canada, it got supported, and then it got that legal challenge. And because that legal challenge, it got shelved for the second time. We are now in a situation where I've been speaking to TTC again. I've supplied another statement to update where we are with it, and that's currently sitting with TTC legal to take forward again with a view to try again and get it through at the moment. What we have done this time, and it will be for a matter of vote rather than my say so. My suggestion was to reduce some of the restrictions on it, so the number of restrictions, down to core restrictions. So the ones that were the most controversial in the eyes of some groups, we remove, so that it gets the key ones through. So the asset gatherings, the substance misuse, and those key ones that really are operating the town centres. I've said, let's go for those because the people opposing PSPO are less likely to object, I think, to those key ones. If we can get that one in, then my colleagues within security teams within the District Council can start using those enforcement powers, because at the moment it's all on us, and that's the key part of it.
We are hoping the report that comes to cabinet for decisions. We are not going to not do it.
And you mentioned it's a scrutiny, yes, not.
We are going to do it. And what I need to do is to, just before I ask Gareth to say a few questions, just to get this young lady's view. She's got one question she wants to ask, and she needs to go because of the dog. So I'd just like you to ask your question.
I'd just like to mention about when one applies for a renewal of bus pass when one has lost one. It's quite straightforward. You go to Margate Library, you pay £10, and I asked them to give me a receipt to show to the bus driver, because otherwise the bus drivers, you're saying you've got a bus pass but you've lost it, it's applied for, but you haven't received it yet, and of course there's a lot of people waiting. So I don't know if it could be a policy for the bus drivers to know where they stand. One bus driver told me I could either pay the fare or get off. So I got off. So
Just say, I was speaking earlier on, I asked how long it takes between paying £10 and getting a bus pass. And you said it's 3 weeks, but it could be longer if it falls within a holiday or something like Easter. Because it's only 3 or 4 a month.
yes,
Where
yes,
you can't get on buses.
yes.
We're meeting at the stagecoach, I think.
Yes.
If perhaps we could take it over.
Well, I think it's what we're doing KCC. It's KCC whether they I mean, I've just been through the process. It might not be
Get
like
your bus back.
I've renewed the bus. And it is 3 weeks, and it's up to 3 weeks. I've only just got it out, I did it 3 weeks ago. But with a letter that comes £10 if you lose it or you need to replace it. But they should. Why might they give you a receipt? That's bonkers.
Yes.
So I think. So did you go to Randy? You mentioned Margate Library, but did you not go to Ramsgate Library?
I was told it's Gateway. I told to me, I always
So, but you can also go to. I'm sure you can go to a Library. But be able to give the advert.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
You run a parking.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Do you want us to take your details so we can pass them on to, if you can see young Lou there.
Right, okay. Questions?
Would you get her details for us? Max? Would you get her details for us? Thank you. Pass it on.
Yeah, I got one. It's for other people.
Oh, okay,
And the
okay.
bus drivers.
All right, thank you.
Bus drivers don't know what to do.
Oh, okay, so you've got your bus pass now, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you.
we will ask KCC
Thank
to
you.
try and sort that out.
Thank you.
Thank you for raising it.
Yeah.
Right, so as we all know, now we've got to have one other meeting. Those who are watching online who may not know, Town Council took a decision following complaints from our local shopkeepers in the town about antisocial behaviour to, because I see the work that policy security have done in Broadstairs, and especially when you have the last evening speech last year as the cabinet responsible. So we decided as a council to get policy security on the 6-month start-up to see how things work. From my point of view, they've been fabulous because we get regular reports of what's happening, what they're doing. I get some videos sometimes, they send me of what's taking place and everything, so I can forward that on now. So, Gary, can you have things just to give us a feeling as to what you...
Yeah,
Actually, Max, sorry, could I ask you to go in the office because I think we can be... Sorry.
right, so my presentation, first of all, really, ladies and gentlemen, my presentation this evening is Jo. She's reflects away from me there. She's out there a few shifts a week dealing with issues that we have. So, yes, it's pro security that we are operating in under our sister company R1. Two reasons. One, because all the R1 staff are trained in conflict resolution and Pro has different contracts with corporate clients which are a bit more fluffy, whereas Mark 1 is sort of expected to go and deal with everything. Since we've been there 3 months now, it has improved, I would say a lot. I appreciate what Ian says this week, because it's still there. We've got Lisa outside the room, so I'm not too sure what agency she's dealing with her. Unfortunately, she was sold it a couple of last weekend, last night. But the rest of it, the feedback from the businesses there, surveys have gone out to them. I know the town council put surveys out to the residents, but the businesses have had a quick survey. They all come back fantastic. We've got residents back in the town, so it's a lot better than it was. But we also have the fact that the sun will be out shortly, and sun and alcohol will change that completely. That's not being negative, that's just being realistic. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Maybe the last one question, I can't answer it. Joe will be eligible. But one thing I will say is that they're in the town, the route of use, they're aware, street trees, they're aware, Charlotte Square is a lot cleaner and safer. Yeah, so they are aware, they are doing the job, and I've completely got my own back. Sorry? Yeah, so the summer, the businesses. we were pushing the other business to get radio. I know where I was going. So during the week, during the week, they are based mainly in the town centre. Sundays aren't as busy. So what we've been doing lately, we haven't again youth having chats or a ball and to the park. So we just said, you know what, the whole weekend, if we go to the town first, if it's not too busy, then let's go and have a look in the parks. And the feedback they got from being in the parks, when I read the reports, I was like, really? People coming up to me, thank God you were here. Like, maybe it's sad in a way that you have to go security in the park to feel safe. That was the feedback we got. There are other options we looked at as well, schools coming out, we just don't want to feel that, so that would be instructive for you if you want to do that, but it has come up in different reports of that sort. So, I think the parks is a great idea. Yeah, the park is, but again, like Mr. Swallow said, there's only children around, and if we send them off to the park, then someone's going to say, we're going to see it in the town. So they on the busy periods, and if they know they've got the youth there, or the street troopers there, they will be based in the town. Definitely on a Sunday, we absolutely said, go up to the parks, go and have a look around there, and all sorts of things. The concessions in there were a lot happier, and just people walking their dogs were open. When I got the feedback and I was watching the body cams, I couldn't believe the interactions they had. So just make sure that people talk about that.
Yeah. There were two things. Firstly, I wanted to say actually it's great how friendly you guys are, because I just see you chatting to people so often, so people feel like they can come up and say something and you'll be there friendly. You've actually already partly answered the question I was going to ask, which was the definition of town centre, particularly the person who are watching online. When you say town centre, well, I've certainly seen you outside Boots in the High Street, but how far down towards the harbour do you go all the way, or so I just think, you know, perhaps if you could clarify.
I'd say it sort of starts from the same Wetherspoons, we go around the Wetherspoons from there, and then we try to get to Battery Park, and it's
Boundary Park between 3:30 and 4:30 would be wonderful.
Yeah.
You mentioned parks. There's about 60 kids in there, and it's amazing on a really nice sunny day, straight out of school.
And then we go around the Kennedy House,
And up Queen Street, travelling up the High Street up to, yeah.
It's just an age.
Well, I can do that, so.
The main first of the town centre is Yorkshire, King Street, all the others, everybody again looking at social media and feedbacks, etc. So they will push Boundary Park, Addington Park, King George Park, Harbour, Wetherspoons, wherever they're needed in Ramsgate, they will be there. They've got vehicles they can go, but it is the main thing was on the survey that went out was our town centre was not safe, so you need to be there for the businesses, and you've got like people who are struggling with bus passes were in the town or wouldn't go to the town, and now the businesses are reporting that these people are coming back. So Ethel or whoever is down there having a coffee because she feels safe now, and she can say hi to Joe or Addison or whoever else is working there, because that's how they're told. We want it old school policing is where we want to look at where your body or county officer said hello and said hello everybody. Even if they don't get hello back, make sure, didn't we? In the first meeting we had, make sure you say hello to every single person so you are approachable. And that's what we've done. And familiarisation, the same people, the same thing. We can't keep swapping them around. There's about 8 of you, isn't there? So it's the same faces regularly that are out there. Because it is part of the perception and everybody needs to feel safe.
And the more people in the town, so
Yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Baker says you can raise your hand and ask them to be
Others are in schools.
Peaceful, we look after that as well.
Yeah, but on that, they have got security, they've got here to help.
Yeah, there's heat.
I would rather see actually security.
There's not post security, you only have to. But there is that policing help, there is that Rangers, there is that BID, business development, there's all that, but the main thing was, they want to be secure. If we could have Ramsgate Town Council, you'll see when we operate in other areas, sometimes we'll have the district council on the back and they'll have security with a small thing on there. If that's what the town council would like, we can move, we can change straight away. But the main thing was, get those bodies there, make sure everybody's aware who's there, make sure it's hands touch with them. That's where we're at, mate.
I've seen it around those stations.
Yeah. They've done it.
It's about
If you require Ramsgate Town Council in, or we're happy to change it, you're the client, so you can. Here's the client. Don't know about it.
It's not happening. We're in the Anybody else? Oh, all those bands went up there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I need to do more or less every day. And very, very friendly colleagues everyone has. Everybody's talking to each other. And I think all the people in the town center are feeling really safe. The shop owners as well as the residents. You know, when they see you, they're really happy. One thing I just want to mention is within the town center, and I did mention it to Joe and to mention it to other colleagues, that when they see people are cycling on bike, they need to actually come off. They need to, because that's really, really dangerous. There are not few elderly people previously done a few years ago.
It's not just cyclists, it's e-bikes.
E-bikes, yeah. Cars.
Yeah. We come to that.
Yeah,
Cars.
so these are really important few things that has to be really taken into account.
If we get the PSPO back and we'll pay you back, I know if you understand, is it possible to then give security the powers to do some of the stuff that you're allowed to do under the PSPO?
In theory, yes.
How can the schools work?
Without going down a rabbit hole,
Yeah.
but the chief constable of a county can divulge powers to register companies, etc. So that's something that needs to that has to be very important.
Can you ask what you were going to say about us?
Cost. It's just, we've had it in reports, our weekly reports, the gate next to the Royal can't be locked. Remote, yes, yes. So you have got a couple of people.
10 to 5, it's supposed to be delivery. Sometimes.
They just opened up.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's,
It's not to do with between officers.
yeah, but they just open the gate, driving up, and then by the time they're all out, and again with cyclists, like you said, we have got a couple that will go stand in front, you're not allowed to drive, get off, they go past, jump on the bike and ride off. So sometimes you will see it, and sometimes you won't, but it has been done. I've seen it on body cam, and sometimes it could escalate a problem that people need to
I know, I used to tell them not to do it, because they're not doing it angry with me, but now that you're there,
Yeah.
it makes it much easier to mention it.
I've sent them to police.
Yeah.
Police say, get off your bike.
Yeah.
I think signage in town is not great. I mean, it almost needs to be re-tarmacked and tarmac in town. It's a completely different colour, so that you're entering a zone which is completely different to the outside.
It can be done. It is signage because we have on the promenades. Some people ride on the promenades, some people don't. But it's easier in the summer when we're working. It's easier because of the signage on the promenades. But you can't have too many signs because otherwise it's just so it is something you could look at. And we're happy to work with you. And if you say to us, anybody that comes down here on the bike, we've not done. We've also got then they look at that. But there's just other priorities, and the main thing was safety and to make people feel comfortable approaching people and speaking to people in a nice
complain, we complain to the police in town while they're watching a vehicle, and they're saying they can't do anything unless they see a vehicle moving the vehicle. I don't know how many tickets have been given out. I would say less than half. If that.
It is a tricky one, against nuances and laws, like, for example, driving on a footpath. We see a car parked on a footpath, we can't really grant it unless we actually see it.
Yeah, but I've seen police see moving vehicles and it's still not been done. I've been here 6 years and I don't know many tickets that have been given out whatsoever. And because it's being done and people know that they can do it, no one's going to do anything about it, it's increased. Even with that gate, it's increased. They're actually coming from the notice on Q Street and they're getting from Town Street.
I mean, it's like down in parade around the
Well, we've also got Harper Street at night time. It's now packed. The town is packed. I counted 24 cars at 6:30 and parts on the and they should all be staying there tonight. And they should all be ticket police here. It's a no stopping zone. It's a no stopping zone. The CDC should be out ticketing those. And the police should actually be assisting. They should be going out to those cars and saying, because if there's not going to be ticket officers around that time of night, they can make a fortune, do you see? That's between 6 and 7. They could make a fortune.
They should pay for an extra enforcement person. They do their tickets on Addington Street and around my area, late at night, first thing in the town. So they should be able to use down
pensions, obviously, pensions, and they've got who's on, they can't be everywhere, but, you know, if you've got a real problem here, report it to CDC, or tell one of us. Tell one of us. We can do it, take that as any button.
It's called serious.